Welcome back, Burnout teachers. Today's lesson will be about Teach for America and Israel. The reason that I wanted to make this video was because I have a personal experience working in Teach for America as a Palestinian, and when I voiced my concerns about relationships with the Israeli army, I was dismissed and ultimately resigned from working in the organization. This video is not meant to bash teachers who are in Teach for America or to disregard them or to say that they are not competent and even social justice oriented teachers, speaking specifically about the relationship with the Israeli army and questioning that relationship with Teach for America and Israel as a microcosm of our larger education system. A Zionist mafia is controlling educational institutions and how we as teachers need to bring awareness about this. I was fortunate to be accepted to Teach for America, and I was working in McAllen, Texas with kids that were Mexican, primarily Mexican, and on the border of Texas and Mexico. We were doing our summer training. We were involved in a lot of cultural competency and diversity trainings in which we were attempting to talk about our identity as it relates to our teaching practice. And one of the questions that had came up was about how we attempt to establish rapport with our students. And as a Palestinian American, I spoke a lot about how I would create a sense of rapport in my students through connecting through our shared struggle and international solidarity. Because being a Palestinian, we're very much aware of the ills of occupation and genocide, and also the way in which occupation and creating a border wall and a border culture in a country that restricts movement is something that is too familiar to Mexicans as well as Palestinians. So I was really excited to kind of make that connection with them and be able to connect with them on the grounds of this shared struggle. And when I mentioned that, I just kind of felt like there was a weird vibe with other teachers, and also just like the teachers who were leading kind of these workshops. So I started looking into more, which I kind of regret that I didn't do this sooner before accepting Teach for America, but I started kind of researching more into Teach for America as an organization and what the funding streams are. And I found an article written by Max Blumenthal on the Electronic Intifada, which is a great resource, and he was talking about the ways in which Teach for America is funding the Israeli army. And I also saw that there was a lot of Teach for Israel projects and exchanges with Israeli and American teachers.
Today we're meeting the Teach for America Corps members, are meeting with their counterparts at Teach First Israel, as well as some educators from the Youth Renewal Fund.
57 of our Corps members have traveled to Israel for a 10-day leadership journey to explore issues of change, of inequity, of values, to help us decide how we're going to spend the rest of our lives.
Teach for America is an organization that promotes educational equity as part of their mission, and for all students to have equal opportunity. And yet, when you're funding an army that is brutalizing and killing and ethnically cleansing a group of people on a daily basis, I don't see how those goals kind of line up, and it seems very contradictory.
For Palestinian children in the West Bank city of Hebron, getting to school in the morning is no easy task. In the part of the old city known as H2, the Palestinians are sometimes kept under curfew for months at a time. So while the Israeli settler children are free to go to school, the Palestinian children are regularly prevented from doing the same. With Israeli soldiers ensuring that the streets are used by Israelis only, the Palestinian children have taken to the roofs.
The founder of Teach for America has very close relationships with a lot of people in the Israeli army and the Knesset and the Israeli government.
My vision would be of a world with shrinking educational disparities and rising educational levels. I think if we could achieve that vision, we would have a much better world.
As a Palestinian, but also just as a person who cares about equality, I found that to be very problematic. How as teachers are we going into the inner city to help students have opportunity for quality education, and then at the same time we are helping to support an army that is killing Palestinian men, women, and children on a daily basis.
אמרתי לך שלשום, תבוא אליי, תגיד לי. סתום את הפה.
The DCO say can go to school, but the soldiers, they said every day it is forbidden for you to go to school. It's forbidden for you to enter the school. You have to close the school now and let the children go home.
So I took it up with leadership. And the woman was very dismissive, and she said that nothing's going to change and the funding streams are something that's way higher up. I even tried to talk to fellow teachers about organizing something and trying to change it and speaking out against how we don't agree with these funding streams. But a lot of the teachers, because they were just starting out, I don't think they were ready to kind of rock the boat in that way. And I think that people just assumed that it was because of my Palestinian identity that I was speaking out. And really, it could have been any other social justice issue, whether that be indigenous people, whether that be African Americans, Latinos. It's really, we need to start framing social justice in this way in which we look at it as international solidarity, as each social injustice is contributing to another. What's happening in Palestine is not separate from what's happening to African American youth who are being killed by the police, is not different from what's happening on the border that's restricting people coming from other parts of the world to immigrate here to the United States, is not separate to mass incarceration. All of these issues stem from a system that subjugates people of color and working class people. So it's very important that we look at social justice in that light so that we're not selective in where we choose to be advocates and saying, oh, okay, it's okay to brutalize Palestinians, but it's not okay to brutalize Black people. No, we need to really see this as all a part of a similar structure. It is our responsibility as teachers to educate ourselves and our students about the injustices that happen in different countries around the world. I have many resources on my channel about how to teach Palestine in a way that creates tolerance, kindness, and understanding, starting all the way from early childhood. So please check out my resources. I will provide them in the description. I think Palestine is something very important to highlight because a lot of people disregard the injustice against Palestinian people.
We need to change the way we set up our schools. We need to change the way we set up our school systems. We need to change a lot of things. And ultimately, that's going to require tremendous commitment, tremendous leadership, and a more informed and committed leadership to this particular issue of education. We are going to affect bold change for the kids growing up today.